Rafael Devers is going to have himself a career after he broke a franchise record on Monday night.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. So if it's free, there's no point in not checking it out. Might as well do it, right? Locked On is your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB, that's all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome to Locked On Red Sox, and the team is coming off of a 2-game win streak. They did beat the Tampa Bay Rays 5-0 on Monday and improved their record to 24-24 to be back right at that 500 mark. I mean, this team just is lingering around 500, which in all honesty is really not that bad considering all the injuries they've had this season, and I think people would be very pleasantly surprised if before this season started you were to go up to somebody and list all the injuries this team has had this year and say they'd be 500 right now. People would probably laugh at you and say that's crazy. They absolutely would not be. So that's a positive, and what the Red Sox have done so far this year is, even though they've been plagued with injuries, they've still been able to stay afloat, especially with the fact that their offense just has not been able to score a lot of runs overall. As a team, they struck out 10 times in the game on Monday night, and that's just not ideal, but it's typical, unfortunately, of this Red Sox offense. Lots of swings and misses and guys who are just watching baseballs go right past them. David Hamilton watched a four-seam fastball right down the middle in the game, and I said, what are you looking for, dude? So they are definitely getting their fair share of swings and misses, but they did produce offense on Monday night, thanks in large part to Rafael Devers, who went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and he hit a massive home run in the game. He also did record one of those strikeouts, but he crushed a home run and broke a Red Sox record in the process. It's pretty cool to see him do what he's doing, because last year people didn't really give him credit for the season he had, even though he overall had a good season. But he became the first Red Sox player ever to homer in 6 straight games. And that's a big deal. If you think about how long the Boston Red Sox have actually been around as an organization, that's a huge accomplishment to be in the record books for a franchise so storied like that. So 6th straight game with a home run. The MLB record is 8 straight games. Multiple players have reached that at this point. So it'd be cool to see if Devers can keep this streak going for a few more games and break the MLB record, because how cool would that be if he homers in 9 straight games and said he single-handedly owns the record for most home runs in consecutive games. That would be pretty cool for him to be able to talk about and add to his accolades, and it would only boost his credibility in the league in terms of the season he's having and his potential to be in the MVP conversation. Now, currently he is batting .284. That home run definitely helped. I mean, hitting 6 straight home runs definitely helps out your batting average for sure, but he's been lingering around .285 for a little bit of time now. Ever since he got back from the injured list, he's really been making a statement offensively. And I said a while back on this show, and you everydayers will remember what I'm talking about. Shout out to you for tuning into the show every day. I really appreciate that. You'll remember me talking a while back about how if Devers comes back fully healthy, he's going to have a big season. I talked about even early on before the season started that I expected a big season from him, and then he wasn't hitting well early on and then went on the injured list, and I said, bingo, that's probably the problem. That's why he isn't hitting that well, because he's injured now, and sure enough, now he's back and he's crushing home runs all over the place. So it's nice to see him continue that streak, and he broke a Red Sox record, which is super cool. He has 39 hits now on the season with 10 total home runs and 23 RBIs. So he needs to continue to hit in this way, but he certainly does have the potential to be included in that MVP conversation, because the MVP is a player who has a lot of all-around things that they do well offensively in a season. His on-base percentage right now is a 384 with a 555 slugging. He can get those numbers up a little bit, but then he could be in that conversation. Now, when it comes to the last couple American League MVPs, Aaron Judge did win it in 2022. Obviously, he made history that season by hitting 62 home runs, breaking Roger Maris's record. So that was pretty impossible to not make him the MVP that year. But just to give you for reference, his stats that year included leading the majors in runs scored with 133, homers with 62, RBIs with 131, an on-base percentage of 425, and a slugging percentage of 686. So those are big numbers, and he had a pretty remarkable season that year. He also batted .311. So Rafael Devers, as of right now, if you compare that, 23 RBIs compared to 131 that year. The home runs are now at 10 compared to 62 that year. The .311 batting average, that's something he could improve on and get to relatively soon if he continues to hit in this way, because right now it's at 284 if he's getting more than one hit in a game. So those were pretty incredible numbers for Judge, and he kind of ran away with the MVP award in 2022. I don't really see Devers getting up to those same numbers because Aaron Judge was really just doing it all. And the biggest thing with Devers right now is that he does have a decent amount of strikeouts in there to go along with the hits that he's had. So in order for him to be able to increase his numbers in other offensive categories, he's going to have to start being more effective at the plate in terms of not having the one home run in an average outing and then not get any other hits the rest of the game. So that's something I'm going to be watching for from him moving forward. Shohei Ohtani won the AL MVP in 2023, but that was an obvious choice as well. I mean, it's a different situation with him because since he was pitching and hitting and he did both well, it puts him into a special category that's different from everybody else. So he's a bit of an exception in 2023, but just again for reference, as a designated hitter, he hit 304 with a 412 on base percentage and 654 slugging. Now, again, Devers is at a 345 on base percentage and 511 slugging right now. So he definitely has a shot to get close to where Ohtani was with those numbers, but again, more versatility in his offensive game can absolutely get him there. So he also, Ohtani, when he won the MVP award, had 44 homers, 26 doubles, 8 triples, 20 stolen bases, 102 runs scored, and 95 RBIs in 135 games. So again, really big numbers, but Devers usually does drive in a lot of runs. So I'm not concerned about his RBI number going up. I think right now it might seem like it's a little bit low, but just keep in mind that he was hurt for part of the season, and that does make an impact. So I think if he continues to obviously crush home runs in the way he's doing, but also is able to increase that batting average a little bit more, hit more singles and doubles, and not just live or die by the long ball, then he absolutely is so close to being in that tier with those players. So it's definitely cool that he broke a Red Sox record, and I hope he can continue to hit in the way that he is, because he was a lot of what fueled the Red Sox win on Monday night, and it's great to see that he's still here living up to that big contract that he just signed. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward, but I love to see him produce a little more offensively than just the home runs and mixing in some other hits here and there, because that'll really make him a super tough hitter for opposing pitchers. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about the guy who made the start on the mound on Monday night and just continues to be absolutely brilliant for Boston. Could he be an ace? You'll find out next. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn's Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. This is a great tool if you work in sales and are looking to make your job a lot easier for you, so check it out today. Also, be sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, or check it out on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app, as we have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, so we'll make sure we're keeping you caught up in all things going on in sports. So check that out today as well. In the Boston Red Sox 5-0 win against the Tampa Bay Rays on Monday night, they brought some offense, and it was nice to see. We already talked about how Rafael Devers crushed a home run in the game, and Cedar Rafaela also hit a 2-run homer in the game. His average is now up to a 195 with an on-base percentage of 225 and 365 slugging. He does struggle at the plate, but he made another beautiful play defensively in the game on Monday, and that's what he's here for. That's what the Red Sox like about him, is his fielding and the fact that he's able to be a key part defensively in both the outfield and the infield. So even if he isn't the best offensively and isn't giving a lot of productivity at the plate, at least he has something to provide in his glove and his defense. But he did hit a home run in the game too. The Red Sox won 5-0, and it was especially nice for Tanner Houck, who made the start in the game and hasn't gotten a lot of run support generally by this Red Sox team. Leading into Monday's game, his last 5 starts before that, he had an 0-4 record, but an ERA of 2.87 over 31.1 innings pitched. His walk to strikeout ratio was 9 for 29, so he was walking 9 batters for every 29 that he was striking out. An opponent's batting average was just 220. The Red Sox scored a total of 12 runs in those 5 starts leading into Monday's game, so I was definitely concerned about whether the offense was going to be able to provide him with what he needed in order to be able to finally get a win, because he deserves a win with how well he's been pitching. The biggest success for me with Tanner Houck this year is his effectiveness and ability to go deep into games, because that was something he's always struggled with prior to this season, was being able to pitch deep into games. And before the season started, I said Tanner Houck needs to be able to consistently pitch 6 or 7 innings more and have the Red Sox be able to rely on him that third time through the order, which was always what killed him in the past. So he was able to do just that on Monday night. He was very effective. He went 7.0 innings, giving up just 2 hits and 0 earned runs. He did walk 1 and recorded 5 strikeouts. His ERA is now down to a 1.94. It's dipped below 2 before. His start on May 10th, he gave up 3 earned runs and his ERA went up to a 2.24, then went back down to a 2.17 on May 15th at a start against the Rays because he only gave up 1 earned run in that start. And then with him pitching a shutout on Monday night, it went back down to a 1.94. So he really has been on fire on the mound, and he's found a way to be very productive. And I allude a lot of that to Andrew Bailey's pitching mechanism and what he's been doing to maximize these pitchers' potential. And the thing about Houck is that he used to rely very heavily on his fastball and slider alone. Those were the 2 pitches that he primarily was using. So because he only really had those 2 pitches that he mastered and felt comfortable using, it was easier for opposing hitters to figure him out. And that's why the third time through the order he would struggle, because by the time they've seen him a couple times, they're used to his best pitches by then, so they were able to hit him more. So he's changing up his pitch arsenal. He's added more pitches to his resume. In Monday night's game, he used his slider 30.7% of the time. That's still his put-away pitch. That's his best pitch. It's absolutely deadly. Very hard for opposing hitters to hit, so he should continue to use that as his goodbye, see ya, next time pitch. His sinker, he used 38.7% of the time, a splitter 26.7% of the time, and a cutter 4.0% of the time. So now he has 4 or 5 pitches that he can throw in there, because throw in that 4-seam fastball every once in a while and you're looking at a pitcher who has 5 solid pitches that he can continue to use as his starts move forward to keep hitters on their toes. And that's why, as it stands right now, Tanner Houck is the Boston Red Sox ace. He's been the best starter this season. Cutter Crawford is not far behind at all. He has a 2.17 ERA right now. He only gave up 1 earned run in his last start against the Cardinals. His ERA was a 2.24 before that, because he did give up 4 earned runs in an outing on May 13th versus the Rays, but that was one of his worst starts of the season. Have to expect that. Every starter is going to have tough outings, but overall, Crawford has been very good. Tanner Houck has just been slightly better. And honestly, with the way this pitching staff has gone this year and the fact that there have been quite a few injuries to the rotation, Tanner has been able to step up and, for one, stay healthy, and for 2, be that guy in this Red Sox rotation that could be relied upon. And the fact that he's eating lots of innings really helps from the standpoint of resting the bullpen. Now, this is going to be beneficial for the rest of the series too, because since he went 7 innings, the Red Sox didn't have to use a lot of other arms. Justin Slayton then came in and pitched 2 innings, gave up just 1 hit and no earned runs. He struck out 3 hitters. He looked very good as well. He was able to get his ERA down to a 3.12 because he had struggled his last couple times out. So it was nice to see that he was back on track, looked very good over 2 innings. So the Red Sox only had to use 2 pitchers in the game. And that's something that's been key with Tanner Houck starts, is can he go out there and pitch a lot of innings so that the Red Sox aren't blowing through a lot of the bullpen in those games. And that was a big concern I had about this pitching rotation as a whole going into the season, was, are they going to be able to get a lot of innings from their starters? Are people like Tanner Houck, Garrett Whitlock, Nick Pivetta, Brian Bayo going to be able to continuously go deep into games? And that was something that I pointed to as something that could make or break the Red Sox season this year, is how deep can their pitchers actually go. And I've been very impressed by Tanner Houck. He definitely has the stuff to be able to be an ace, and we've seen glimpses of this earlier on in his career, and then it started to be questioned a little bit over the last couple seasons when he was really struggling that third time through, and his stuff was only very good through the fourth or fifth inning, and then things started to fall apart. And I said, well, you can't be an ace if you fall apart every time you hit that fifth or sixth inning somewhere in the middle of the game range, and you start to struggle because opposing hitters are figuring you out. So that was something that, as the season progressed back in 2021, 2022, I was pinpointing those problems and saying, okay, we need Tanner to develop a little bit more and be able to pitch deeper into games. And now that he's starting to do that, this guy is a dangerous pitcher. Lots of hitters struggle against him, and he could be a secret weapon for the Red Sox moving forward. If he continues to pitch in this way, he could be in that conversation for that Red Sox number one starter moving forward. They don't really have a declared number one starter per se right now. I think things changed a little bit due to all of the injuries this year, but he has the chance to be in that role later on. What makes a very successful pitcher is one who can continue to shut down offenses no matter what, and even if there's a little bit of pressure put on them, they can get out of the pressure situations and be able to keep themselves composed. And Houck didn't run into many issues in Monday night's game, not many base runners at all for the Rays, as he only gave up a couple hits. So that was definitely a bonus. But we've seen him get out of trouble before when there's traffic on the base paths and he has to change his approach a little bit. He's been able to get out of those types of situations. So I love the fact that he's grown and developed into a pitcher who can be a serious weapon out of this Boston Red Sox rotation moving forward, because they definitely need those types of starters, and they need these guys to be able to continue to develop so that they, as a starting rotation down the road, can be one of those ones in the conversation of having one of the best rotations in baseball. Now, they right now have a lot of holes. I don't really see them at this moment being a playoff team right now, but things could definitely change. At the beginning of the season, I had them at 83 wins, and 83 wins may or may not be enough. It's hard to really know how everybody else is going to do, but I will tell you, if you have a competitive starting pitching rotation, that can get you a lot further than people will give it credit for. Obviously, you can't win games if you can't score runs either, but if you have that rotation that's going to be able to eat innings and keep you in games, it will at least give you a chance moving forward. So that's something that the Red Sox have that I absolutely love, is a solid core of starting pitchers that all have brought very good stuff to the table this year. Andrew Bailey, shout out to you for making this rotation into what it is this year, and hopefully things continue in this direction for Tanner Houck as well as the rest of the starters. Coming up, though, I'm going to be sharing more news on Garrett Whitlock, and it's definitely something that you might be upset about, but it's important, so you won't want to miss it. PrizePicks is a really fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Basically, what you do is you just pick more or less on two or more player stats, and you can watch money roll in straight to your phone. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. This is a great time of year for it too, because it's conference championship time for the NBA and the NHL. Baseball's in the heart of its season, so lots of things that you can choose from. For example, tonight it's saying Jason Tatum 20 points. I'm easily taking more on that. He's been balling out as of late, and I'd love to see him have another big game, so definitely pick more there. But you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 if you just download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Who doesn't love simple, right? So if you want an easy way to win some money, PrizePicks is the way to go. Also, don't forget to check out Locked On Sports Today. You can get it on either YouTube or Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. It's a 24/7 stream that keeps you up to date in all the latest things going on in sports. So if you're looking to stay caught up and you want a more efficient way than just scrolling through Twitter all the time, we as a network have you covered with all of our local and national Locked On experts. So definitely check that out. With all the Red Sox pitching injuries this year, things were finally starting to look up because it looked like they were getting healthy, guys were returning, and for the most part, things have been pretty smooth sailing in terms of guys being able to come back on the timeline that they were expected to come back. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case for Garrett Whitlock. More information was revealed on him, and it's likely that surgery is going to be needed. There is damage in the ligament, Alex Cora reported. So there's a heavy possibility that it's going to have to get operated on, in which case he would likely miss the rest of the season. He's going to fly to see the doctor this week, and they'll go from there. But injuries have absolutely plagued Whitlock the last couple of seasons. He appeared in only 22 games due to injury in 2023, as he missed 2 months due to various little injuries. And Tommy John surgery, unfortunately, also hasn't been ruled out yet for him, and he's familiar with that procedure because he did go through it in 2019 while he was in the Yankees farm system. So he is no stranger to getting these injuries and having to go through the recovery process. Alex Cora basically said, we've been through this path before. I know it sounds harsh, but we have to turn the page. We got to go. It sucks for the kid. He has been through a lot, but he has been through worse in the last 12 months. He's a kid that has faith. We talked about this before. He's only looking up. He's a believer. We've been praying for him and trying to stay strong for him, and he will be strong. Obviously, it's a big blow to the Red Sox starting rotation and for him. He seemed poised for a breakout campaign in his first full season as a starter this year. Before going on the IL, he went 1-0 with a 1.96 ERA in 4 starts. He worked so hard in the offseason, and he wanted to be better and push himself. So it's super unfortunate that he's going to have another setback and may miss the rest of the season. That's not confirmed yet, but if he does need surgery, then he will not likely throw another pitch this year. And it's definitely sad and unfortunate because especially with the way that Tanner Houck and Cutter Crawford have been developing and how far they've come this year, it's heartbreaking to know that Garrett Whitlock isn't able to experience that same thing, and all he wants is to just be healthy and have a full season with this Red Sox team. And it almost reminds me of Chris Sale a little bit in the fact that Chris Sale post-2018 was really unable to stay healthy in Boston, and there was always something each year that would set him back and he wouldn't be able to play the whole season. And it was heartbreaking for him because Chris Sale is such a tough player and he just balls out and loves being out there, and the fact that he kept getting hit with injury after injury and it wasn't allowing him to be at his best and give 100% was heartbreaking to experience as a fan. And it reminds me a little bit of this Garrett Whitlock situation in that you have a guy here who shows grit and guts and wants to be out there and wants to work hard and show what he can do in the starting rotation and prove that he deserves a spot in the rotation. And for him to start doing that and be riding this high because he made a really strong appearance in his first few games and made a statement about this type of season he could have and that there was promise there, only for him to get set back again, has to be really tough on him mentally too. And what's tough about it is if he ends up having to miss the whole season because he has surgery, what's going to happen next year? Is he going to have that same special stuff that he's had for a while that the Red Sox loved to see in him. And when he was pitching out of the bullpen, he was excelling with, because bullpen Garrett Whitlock was absolutely nasty. He had very good stuff. He was near unhittable out of that bullpen. And ever since they've started to move him around and change his role, it just seems like we haven't been able to get him for full seasons. And I just wish that he could stay healthy and be that member of the rotation that Red Sox fans have been craving. And I'm hoping for the absolute best here, but it's definitely not good news, because I did talk about on the show yesterday how he had to get some more testing done, and I was hoping that the word surgery wasn't going to end up being brought up and associated with this situation, and I was hoping that it would end up being that he's just sore and needs some more time to rest before he gets back to baseball activity, and that maybe it was going to be said that he just moved back into it a little too quickly. So it's definitely a bummer. That word surgery always is scary. But what I will say is that Cooper Criswell overall has pitched very well in this Red Sox rotation. Other than his last start, which he did struggle in, he generally has been very good and has deserved his start every fifth day. And that's something that Red Sox fans can be optimistic about, is that if Garrett Whitlock does end up having to miss the whole season due to this injury and needs surgery on it, at least fans can take solace in the fact that Cooper Criswell, who's been taking his spot in the rotation in his absence, has been more than living up to the expectations placed on him, and he's been really pulling his end of the weight in terms of keeping the Red Sox rotation competitive. So that's good news for Boston fans. Obviously, we all love Garrett Whitlock, and we want to see him back better than ever and be able to pitch in the way that we know he can. But it's just going to have to wait, unfortunately, at this point. Alex Cora just said there's nothing we can really do. We just have to move forward, and he needs to recover the way that he needs to recover, and that just is what it is. So hopefully he's able to make an appearance earlier than it appears like it might be. That would be a pleasant surprise for everyone in Red Sox Nation, but it's just tough that he was getting ready to come back from one injury and now is dealing with something else, and I just wish he could stay healthy. That's what I want. I feel like Garrett Whitlock has so much potential and is such a special pitcher, but he hasn't been able to fully showcase that because of these constant injuries. And it's always sad when you see players who go through things like that and aren't able to stay on the field. So that's a big thing that I'm looking out for when it comes to this season moving forward. Can our other pitchers stay healthy? Can the Red Sox rotation stay competitive? What Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, and Cooper Criswell have been providing has been very tremendous. Nick Pivetta even has been pretty good, and Brian Bayo struggled in his last start, but I trust that he can bounce back. So overall, this rotation has been giving us a lot to be happy about, so hopefully that continues in Garrett Whitlock's absence, so that when he comes back, it's a seamless transition, bringing him back into the rotation. Think of Whitlock. Keep him in your thoughts. As always, keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.